This is Sybert signing into Command & Conquer 3, Kane's Wrath, because it is awesome, and I wanted to get another Kane's Wrath game in. It is going to be Spectre as the red GDI on the left side, and as the pink Marked of Kane. Yeah, it is going to be Marked of Kane. It is Unleashed. He's going to be on the right side. Of course, the map Tournament Rift, if you're not already familiar with it, and I do believe the GDR player, Spectre, is going to be playing random, so he knows what his opponent is. However, Unleashed does not know what his opponent is, so he doesn't know what Spectre is. He's going to be going Engineer first, building a single Awakened squad, and then selling off the barracks before going for Refinery, and it does look like that is basically the exact same recipe, although, no, he's going to be sending a Rifleman squad down to the southern section, just to make sure that there's no shenaniganry going on down there. But Spec is going to be dropping that down, and he's only going to be going for one engineer, which means these bottom spikes will be important later on, as both of these players, or at least one of these players, should try to capture them at some point. But he's going to be going for War Factory, interesting placement, and War Factory, of course. However, the first units out of this War Factory will tell us a little bit more, and both of these players look to be going for Harvesters, and the Rifleman squad does just now show up for, Harvesters for both of these players. But the Shredder turret does go down for Unleashed, which means Spec doesn't really get any scouting information off, although he would be able to see that the War Factory is powered down, and the power plant should be dropping relatively soon for both of these players. Well, the extra refinery, then followed by most likely an extra power plant so that the MCV can move on down to that southern field. However, that single Awakened squad will escape on away from those. Power plant does go down. However, we'll escape on away from those riflemen and start probably shooting that Tiberium spike, and that's of course good to just grab that building. You have a little bit more vision, but then also you kind of just see, if you're able to grab your opponent's building, you're able to see what exactly they're doing. The Awakened squad will spot the timing of the expansion, and the MCV for Unleashed is going to go ahead and follow suit. So Spec kind of setting the pace for the game. I think Unleashed did want to see, is my opponent going to be going for expansion, or is he going to be trying to, maybe he's going to sell his MCV, go for an all-in. Maybe it's going to be something crazy like that. So you do want to know these things about your opponent, of course. And yeah, that single Awakened squad is going to take about 1,000 years to actually work through that single building, and 2 Scorpion tanks out for harassment, possibly. Maybe they're just going for a little bit of a drive just to make sure that these rocks are all still there. You got to make sure that nobody's stealing your rocks, and the MCVs do go down pretty far placement, which means he will be able to place base defenses a little bit further. However, you can throw your MCV down like there, and then throw your first refinery down 5 to 10 seconds earlier, but it is like Spec and... Can you even... Oh, no, it is going to be the EMP blast from that Awakened squad, locking down that Tiberium spike. I was very confused. I was like, Tiberium spikes don't take power, so why would that be powered down? Pitbull is going to be the unit of choice for Spectre. They're going to be heading around the kind of down to the south before probably crossing the map to do some harassment for Unleashed. Unleashed going to be transferring a Harvester from his northern Tiberium field, which... not a bad idea at all. 4 and 2 is a pretty good ratio. I think, is it 5 and 3 is the perfect ratio for a smaller field like that. And then, no, it's 7 and 3, 5 and 2. But Scorpion tanks should be able to hold off these Pitbulls. Pitbulls get off a couple of extra shots. If the Scorpion tanks head down there, they might actually be able to snipe a Harvester. They instead are going to be going for the Tiberium spike, and the weakened Scorpion tank is going to be heading back to base for Unleashed. Spectre going to be not ready for these bikes if he gets hit by a double attack, and of course by that I mean a flank attack. However, getting flanked by Pitbulls is not what Unleashed wanted to have happen, and these Scorpion tanks will get cleaned up. Will they even get a kill? As no, the micro is a bit too good, so as you probably saw, Spectre pulled his Pitbull that was heavily damaged. He pulled it way the heck down here just to so that Scorpion couldn't get the last shot in and actually go for the kill. More Scorpions getting pumped out, and this third Scorpion getting repaired up basically, well, actually not basically, completely back to full health, which means these Pitbulls should be able to be dealt with, especially with 4 rocket squads here. These Pitbulls may just want to cut their losses, although if they can sneak on by, maybe even up to the north field, they will be able to do a little bit of damage, and the micro around the buildings is a bit too good. Pitbulls go exploding everywhere. 4 of them go down right there, and a single Scorpion tank, that is not too bad of a exchange there. However, the exchange rate, pit bulls to scorpion tanks, is looking great for Unleashed. This attack basically got completely cleaned up, and yeah, it might have been better for Spectre to simply have cut his losses and just run. Cut and run, as they say. He didn't get a single kill. He did get lots of valuable scouting information, although it wasn't that valuable because basically he saw scorpion tanks, he saw harvesters, and he saw rocket troopers. So while I just said he got lots of valuable scouting information, I may very well have lied. The Siberium Spike getting powered down once again. The command post going up. Most likely AP ammo is going to be the choice for Spectre, and he is going to now be going for those southern fields. However, with all of these rocket troopers here, they might be able to take down a single engineer. But 2 rocket squads do go down from that rifleman squad. 2 more scorpion tanks going to be heading around. And these players, while it's not a mirror matchup, they have very similar builds, and similar even in sort of the mid-game, as the pit bulls are trying to engage the scorpion tanks on the north side, and the single predator tank has now been produced. However, mass pit bull and the scorpion tanks, they get a shot off every now and again, but with so many pit bulls, they will be able to clean up these scorpion tanks, especially one at a time. No, not when they all engage. You will not win this fight. Spectre back out. He does claim 1 more scorpion tank for 1 more pit bull, so that's a good scenario, but 1 more pit bull does go down, and an additional one will get sniped as well. So 2 pit bulls go down, a 3rd scorpion tank as well. More scorpion tanks getting sniped. So actually it turned into from Unleashed having an advantage when his scorpion tanks were all in good form, and they actually had a proper concave, to just getting picked off one by one by just mass predator. Not mass predator, mass pit bull. However, rocket troopers will take up defensive positions in these houses. They were able to snipe down those engineers, but then also able to claim the spikes for himself, which means he at least got the cash back on that engineer, even though the spikes will not last very long. However, scorpion tanks on the north side of the map, and it's a fair number. They're fairly spread out, but that doesn't matter quite as much, and spreading out your units did matter a lot in that previous engagement with those pit bulls. However, there's not a whole lot here to combat them. These 4 scorpion tanks will be able to take down this predator tank if they engage directly. However, they're going for the harvester, which is going to actually draw them closer to the army for Spectre. Spectre going to be turning his army around and moving to engage the scorpion tanks. However, they don't really spot the MCV, do they? They might actually be trying to do extra damage to this base up here, just clean up the production structures, and that even the single power plant would help a little bit, just force the rebuilding of it. However, scorpion tanks not actually going to be getting a favorable engagement, as they're just taking extra shots from the predator tanks, just now turning to engage, and the micro is just a bit too good. Spec knows what he's doing, and he's microing around that war factory. Look at that, getting those repairs, getting himself healed on up. All of those predator tanks are basically taking no damage, because any damage that they did take just got repaired. Battle markers going down all over the place, but the scorpion tanks are heading down to the southern field, and they're not going to be able to do a whole lot because of the presence of the predator tanks basically everywhere, and Unleash could be losing his con yard right here, right now. That would not be good for him. He's up to tier 3, and he's even got his Redeemer engineering facility, so it's not that big of a deal. He will lose the expansion at the middle. He'll have to rebuild his MCV for that. However, if he's able to hold here with lots of base defenses, which I'm not sure that he will, and he will not be able to, not an engineer in sight that could have repaired that MCV. However, these units could take significant amounts of damage from these obelisks, as the money has already been spent, and might as well get a few kills. The Awakened squad does go down, needs to be focusing down the weakened predator tanks, and so he's able to do additional damage. However, the blue field is going to be claimed by Spectre, and he is going to be harvesting that entire thing with absolute ease. Basically no opposition. However, the single Tiberium Spike is still being held by Unleashed, and Unleashed is now going to be out with a Redeemer. If he gets a Rage Gen off in the right time, this entire infantry army will basically be null and void. It won't really do anything, because they'll be killing each other. And where's the Rage Gen? Where's the Rage Gen? Where is the Rage Gen Unleashed, good sir? Magnetic Mine's going to be the power of choice. However, the Predator tank army will be enough to kind of clean up this small base up here. The Redeemer might be able to actually fire off. The Rage Gen, no, he's going to be heading south, so he's not actually going to be doing anything about this army up here. These avatars should be enough to clean it up. However, there is no more economy going to be happening on that north base. And the infantry army going to be heading around the south side, just supporting a couple of pit bulls, which will be able to spot the harvesters. Redeemer going to be heading south, and it looks like he's going Tiberium troopers and an engineer inside of his Redeemer. Are we going to be seeing a Marv facility? Goodness, talk about a backup, and that's almost worse than the DMV. However, it is not quite as bad. And is there actually Redeemer, no, I mean a Marv facility anywhere on the map? No, not quite yet. The expansion on the middle will be most likely claimed by Spectre. Unleashed might be able to get some units out there to clean it up there. And if these avatars move too much further without turning to engage anything like this Predator tank army, or, you know, anything down here, then that MCV will be in for a world of hurt. This Redeemer should be able to clean up the remainder of these forces, especially with the Tiberium troopers on the top. He should do fairly well, especially since they're also not shooting the rear armor, which just means that he's not going to be taking very much damage. And it does look like a little Tiberium drop will be happening there, and the ejection out of those bunkers is a good choice, but it really does just prolong their lives by a couple of seconds. Avatars on the north should be able to clean up these Predator tanks if they focus them down before the MCV. However, good use of the EMP by Unleashed, locking down the MCV and then also locking down the Predator tanks and locking down 4 or 5 Predator tanks over here. The refinery does go down. However, that's not going to be helping them in this engagement. Do they actually get the crush on any of those Predator tanks? No, but the Predator tanks are here in force. They do get the crush on the Harvester, and that cannot feel good. Wasting a scan effectively because there's nothing there to actually see for Spectre. He does have a lot of harvesters, and they are ready to harvest some Tiberium. He's completely cleaned up the blue, not even leaving a harvester there just to kind of passively harvest it. He needs to sell off one of those refineries just to get a little bit of money left, and somehow those 1.5 squads of rocket troopers have just managed to survive. However, Predator tanks are going to be hunting down these stealthed avatars, so that scan actually did do something, and he's going to want to either grab that husk or take it down right now, and the avatars might actually get the crush. No, they won't get absolutely anything because he does get 2 crushes from those avatars. He doesn't get the Predator tank, but will he get the other harvesters? So Unleashed doing a pretty good job of crushing with his avatars. He's going to get 2 more crushes. No, I'm a liar, just 1 crush, and the Rage Gen does go off, which means the Predator tanks will be shooting themselves a little bit before shooting the Redeemer. And look at that, with barely a few units, able to do ridiculous amounts of damage with those Avatar crushes. Are we going to see any Awakened squads? No, because Awakened squads with their EMP locking down these Predator tanks would be absolutely devastating. The Redeemer goes down right there. Didn't really do a whole lot in this engagement. The MVPs definitely being these Avatars, and even this Avatar husk over there that got taken out a bit too soon. And the Tiberium Vein detonation is going to be good enough to take out 90% of those tanks. So some people do cry out against the 1-clicks, but it was definitely used there with some solid tactics by Unleashed. He drew those tanks into that field, tried to get an additional crush on that harvester, didn't actually end up working out for him, and now the bikes rolling in. They may actually be able to do a fair amount of damage just because everything is basically dead. They'll be able to snipe the harvester does go down, but they will be able to snipe an extra Predator tank if they try. However, it does look like Unleashed is going to be pulling out of that base, and he does have his MCV back up and running. Either that or the second MCV did go down, a second MCV. However, Unleashed somehow snuck an engineer all the way over there. No, that must be the Avatar that didn't get taken out. And Rifleman Squad's going to be eating away, doing a fair amount of damage in combination with the Predator tank and Watchtower. However, they will not be able to, or the Avatar will not be able to escape with the Pitbull rolling up and doing that stealth detection thing that he does. And the Avatar does go down. However, this Awakened Squad is kind of out of position at this point. Is he actually going to be able to snipe anything with this Tiberium Squad? No, because it just gets run over by the Predator tank. So that Predator tank is definitely making this Rifleman Squad over there happy, because a heroic Rifleman Squad would just get eaten up by those Tiberium Troopers, and then that might even be a veterancy for those Tiberium Troopers. 4 more bikes, which I can't think that 4 bikes are really going to do anything. They might be able to get some shots off. They do have that Tiberium core upgrade. They'll be able to get some shots off on this Harvester, but they probably won't actually be able to do any real damage. I stand corrected, as they are able to take that Harvester down, and the army for Spectre just didn't move at all as they went from being in line of sight. He threw down a Watchtower, but he didn't move his army at all, and that allowed those bikes to do some fair damage, taking down 1 harvester. Additional damage being done to that refinery, but the the Avatar does get reclaimed by Spectre, and I want to say either one of these players could take this game. I think that Spectre's in a better position because of the economy. He's on this green field, and it is a fair-sized field, and he does have at least one harvester there, even if the majority of his harvesters, he's got 3 harvesters in total. The majority of his harvesters did get taken down, but still, that is better than having none. However, on the left side of the map, that entire left, like, third, everything got cleaned up by the stealth tanks. So Unleashed definitely doing a good job making sure he's using his units and just running around, you know, 3 avatars to crush 1,000,000 units in the center, or maybe it's a couple of stealth tanks along the left side of the map to do extra damage and then just clean everything up. Where did those stealth tanks actually go? They're over here. They haven't actually made their way into the base just yet. The Redeemer is just sitting there, not actually doing a whole lot. He went for double engineer, which just allows him to repair a bit more. Another harvester does go down, so Spectre just can't catch a break with this gracious harvester harassment. Not a glorious harvester harassment, I guess. Gracious is not quite the word. From Unleashed, he's just been doing massive amounts of damage to those harvesters, especially with the avatars, and bikes will not be able to do a whole lot versus that rifleman squad. Neither should they. The rage gen does go off, doesn't affect that many units. Oh, actually, it does affect quite a few units in the back. It won't, and it wears off right there, so it won't actually do that much damage. A couple of casualties for Spectre, but not a whole lot to worry about. However, middle is still held by Spectre, and he will not be able to do Unleashed won't be able to do a whole lot about it. Not with that single Scorpion tank that's basically dead. And look at that, even grabbing that Tiberium spike, not grabbing it, but I'm even going to be heading for that Tiberium spike that has been held by Unleashed, by Spectre. And the Rage Gen is going to go off, not actually going to go off, and a Predator tank does get sniped. I'm guessing this is actually going to be a stealth to Redeemer. It should go into stealth mode. Is it stealth mode already? It's hard to tell. However, this single stealth tank going to be able to clean up those base defenses. Should just go for the refinery just to make sure that there's no build radius there. The bikes do take down that spike, which means that the only spikes now held are, of course, by Unleashed, and he's getting himself 20 credits a second, which is not too shabby. Nah, not the biggest deal in the world, but it's just not too shabby either. And he is going to be going for that refinery just to ensure that nothing else will be going down or nothing else will be harvesting from that field in not too long of a time, or at least in a little while. But the MCV has moved completely up to the northern field, which has grown a fair bit, and a single harvester with a single refinery will definitely be enough to clean up that field, get himself some income. But this could be the final offensive out of Unleashed. He does still have a fair bit of money coming in. He's going to be bringing another harvester up to this northern field and then just kind of slowly keeping this field under control, which is always a good idea. However, militant rocket squads backed up rather by the Redeemer, because the Redeemer is actually behind. And he is actually going to be sending his emissary out to that blue field. I don't know if he'll be able to actually set up a base and secure it, although if he's able to keep the attention of Spectre on this northern spot, he'll be able to reclaim that blue field and do massive amounts of damage. And is the Rage Gen going to go off? No, not quite. However, Juggernauts are now out, but only producing one Juggernaut at a time may not be enough. The the Rage Gen does go off. However, everything has already been given its orders, which means the Pitbull and the Watchtowers were really the only things that disobeyed. And drawing those avatars out and then spotting it with the bike could be a brilliant choice. However, the infantry get annihilated by a combination of the Juggernauts and also the Watchtowers clean up basically everything. A sonic emitter goes down for added defense, and will he actually get any shots off? It could be absolutely detrimental to those bikes. No, the bikes do escape on out of there, and he wants to try and focus down that sonic emitter, and the single bike is just here just for the scans. It does get taken out by the Juggernauts. 2 stealth tanks on the north side will be able to snipe down these Juggernauts if they get the shots, and might just want to go for the harvesters, just completely cut off the economy, because at least as long as he holds... Wait a second, where did that emissary go? Did he actually send it all the way down here? Kind of a good move, just because there's more Tiberium there than at the blue field, and doesn't quite get the stealth tank. He does get a couple of bikes that go down, and keeping the stealth tank with the bikes, not necessarily a great choice because that happens, although Unleashed did do a good job microing the stealth tank back, and look at that, he's just running it around just to make sure it doesn't actually get hit by the Juggernauts, and very close, very good micro there by Unleashed just to keep it alive, and snipes down a harvester, getting himself an elite stealth tank. However, with this Pitbull, it will get taken out if it's not too careful there. Stealth Tank will be able to take it down very quickly. However, the Marv is now out over here, and he is going to be going for Zone Troopers inside of that Marv. And actually, I don't think there's a barracks, so he's just going to be going with a single Zone Trooper. And oh, watch your Stealth Tank! Watch your Stealth Tank Unleashed. You don't want to lose your elite Stealth Tank. Setting up in the bottom left side is a good choice, and then spamming infantry is a good choice as well. Both of these things, very viable options. However, reclaiming avatars is also a great choice. Needs to get that over to the War Factory and get himself healed up. And then one engineer. Is he going to be going for another engineer, or I'm guessing it's going to be 2 engineers, 2 Zone Troopers, because that is a really good combination to go for, and the bikes are going to be able to clean up these pit bulls. With a couple of pit bulls over here, they'll be able to do a fair amount of damage. However, the bikes are going to be running away, which means the pit bulls will be able to chase them away. And with the addition of this watchtower, he may actually be able to hold this off. Needs to be drafting another watchtower to hold these bikes off. Otherwise, the bikes can sit here and peck away at that MCV basically all day. And he is going for, he's going for 3. He's going for 3 Zone Troopers and 1 engineer. Not a bad choice, as Zone Troopers are basically good in any situation, and the bikes do clean up that pit bull there. However, this Rifleman squad will be an early warning system, if nothing else, for Unleashed. Unleashed might actually be heading back to his starting field. As you can see, there's probably, 10 grand worth of Tiberium just sitting there not doing anything, and he might be going to, he might be trying to split them off Marvist, the bottom field, and then just set up a base back at the top field. And Unleashed doesn't have a whole lot going on. He re-expanded up here, but then, as you can see, he has 6 buildings, basically, in total on the right side, as far as anyone knows. And he even threw down a disruption tower, which is just a good idea. Just keep it hidden, because instead of getting vision of this base and be like, oh, hey, something's up when you hit this spot, you don't actually know anything's there until you hit that disruption tower. And then by then, you're probably under attack. But I guess he's going to be setting up to Marvist over here. And then I guess he could be just short-term, long-term strategy, something like that. He might just want to throw down some different buildings on the left side there, maybe a power plant or 2, or maybe just a refinery. But he is going to be go ahead and pack up his MCV and head back to the middle ground, because the Redeemer is still a huge threat. And going for Zone Troopers, definitely a good idea. Especially if you can get 3 or 4 squads, and then you basically, if the Redeemer assaults here, you jump jet around the back of him, and as long as you're paying attention and you don't let him crush you, then you'll be able to just shoot his rear armor all day, and that will do massive amounts of damage in a couple of volleys. Once again, if you just engage on the battlefield while he's got 2 engineers in him, that is not a great situation. However, with Juggernaut support, sniper teams might actually be a good investment just for that long-range bombardment. And goodness, Spectre Unleashed is going to have one heck of a nasty surprise for him. He's even going to be, oh no, the Rifleman squad isn't actually going to be going down there to take a look, and the Marv isn't either, which means he won't actually know what's going on. And the sniper teams, that's almost like he read my mind. However, I'm curious to see what exactly he does with them. Sniper teams up here, they're kind of in the wrong position to take on this infantry force. However, not since the infantry force is going to be running over here. This infantry force will absolutely decimate this base, especially if this army continues to push towards the Rage. Gen does go off, and the Redeemer will be able to just walk on out of there. Although, no, he might not actually walk on out of there. But it doesn't matter, because with this much infantry rolling around in your base, or at least walking around, the Marv does go down. These forces need to turn around. Spectre, get your forces into gear and move them back. The Awakened Squad, can they power down the Marv? Will the micro be good enough? And the magnetic mines do drop down on top of that Marv, and look how quickly it dies to just straight up infantry. However, the heroes of the show are the Harvesters, doing ridiculous amounts of damage to those infantry, wiping out basically everything. The Marv did go down, but at what cost? Because look at this, Spectre still has an army, while Unleashed doesn't have a whole lot going for Venom's a good choice, especially if he purchased supercharged particle beams, but he does not have, he doesn't have his tech lab. He does have the operations center, which means the tech lab may be on the horizon at some point. But without supercharged particle beams, you're going to need a absolutely absurd amount of Venoms to be effective versus anything that's not like infantry. However, a stealth tank does show up and get shot down as well. Where in the world are those Venoms? They're over here, and they do not have supercharged particle beam. They will be able to do a little bit of damage to that MCV. Where is the anti-air? There's no anti-air. This is going to be way more effective than I was thinking it was going to be. Not even any rocket squads mixed in here, as all of the sniper teams go down but one, and the zone troopers go down as well. They're going to be hunting the Juggernaut husks and just taking out the infantry, and it might even be a good idea just to go for the Juggernauts. There is a command post, which means AA turrets are going to be thrown down in a few moments. However, there's no tungsten shells, as far as I know, no tungsten shells, which means these Venoms will be able to tank at least a little bit of damage from those, and I don't know if I agree with rolling out right there with the Venoms. It did turn the army back, which bought him more time, so I guess he didn't really have a choice. But revealing those Venoms at that point was kind of like a, hey, build lots of anti-air while I'm not really going to be able to do a whole lot of damage with them. So while it was not the best timing to move in with those Venoms, it was probably a necessary timing. The Venom's going to be heading around the north side of the map while the infantry do head through the middle, and they could be trying to just stand off this army, maybe even come in and get the flank. But with this base down here, he even has the tech lab all set up. He doesn't actually have the supercharged particle beam upgrade going to be purchased, but if the MCV goes down, I should hope that he might actually have a war factory down there in time to just kind of stave off any sort of AA is going to be thrown down to stave off any sort of Venom attack. However, if he gets the war factory down, he'll be able to rebuild that MCV, and he should have enough time. He's not under a huge amount of fire right now, and his building is almost finished. I'm not sure exactly what he's building, but the Juggernauts will finish this off in a matter of 30 seconds or so. And the war factory does go down. It was a war factory. He hasn't actually bought that supercharged particle beam upgrade quite yet, which means those Venoms aren't really going to be doing a whole lot. However, infantry were enough to do some serious damage to that MCV. Might be worth it just to drop down the MCV, or drop down the engineer at this point, and throwing away so many Venoms. They're just taking ridiculous amounts of damage, even giving heroic status to that slingshot, not finishing it off. What a bad move for Unleashed. He just threw away so many Venoms to that slingshot and that AA turret. But also a bad move for Spectre is leaving this base online. Does he know that it's here? Probably not, but money is money for Unleashed. He is going to be absolutely loving that decision to leave that base alone. Juggernaut's going to be moving around this side of the little, I don't know, what is that, a mountain, a hill, volcano even, of Tiberium? Not exactly sure. However, Juggernaut's going to be moving down. I'm guessing they're going to be taking out that Tiberium. It's not really an expansion, but it is going to be taking out this base and taking out that refinery. Might even go for the power plant. I don't think he knows that that's there, which is just kind of nice for Unleashed. But you let someone sit like this, and then before you know it, he's got an extra MCV. He actually sold off that power plant. I'm not sure that was the good idea. I should have just kept it, I think. And the MCV is going to be getting repairs, so free repairs, not a bad idea from the war factory. And then he's probably going to be redeploying it over here, or maybe even over here since he no longer has the mark. And he's going to be kind of confused if he sees this. He's going to be like, huh, where in the world is all of that Tiberium going? Oh, just kidding, because my opponent has a pretty big base in the south side, and I think he's kind of put that together, and he's like, oh, yeah, of course there's a base in the south side. However, the MCV is going to take massive amounts of damage, only gets one volley off, and then one stealth tank does go down, not able to get a second volley off on that MCV. Not sure how big of a deal that's going to be. Two Venoms won't be able to do a whole lot, especially not with a Pitbull there, and I'm assuming no more Pitbulls actually are going to be on the way, but he is going to be throwing down a single AA battery. Still no tungsten shells, but I don't think he hasn't had a tech lab in quite a while. However, the tech lab for Unleashed not actually going to be doing a whole lot now that he has the Redeemer Engineering Facility selling off the War Factory, a good choice, and he still doesn't have that supercharged particle beam, which I guess it's not really, it's kind of it's an unusual upgrade to get because it's expensive, takes a long time to research, and then really it doesn't affect that much of your army the majority of the time. It doesn't affect your Scorpion tanks, doesn't affect your, your Redeemer, doesn't affect your stealth tanks, nothing like that. Really benefits your Venoms the most, and also your base defenses and some of your infantry, which most of the time people don't even bother getting the infantry in the later game, well, in the later half of the game, especially with the Awakened. But all of the Venoms do get cleaned up, which means these Pitbulls will have free reign on those Harvesters. And are we going to see just kind of a repeat of what Unleashed did to Spectre? No, it actually looks like the... I'm not actually sure why he is just running around this base. He can't really see anything. However, the Redeemer is now here, and Pitbull's going to be massing up here on that kind of northern field, and the Venom will reveal, hey, there's an avatar here walking amongst us. He's a fake and a phony with the magnetic mind drop, though that will do a little bit of damage, and the Avatar Husk goes down right there, and the Engineer is out almost immediately for Unleashed. Spectre going to be moving his MCV back, and he's just even going to be reverse moving it. However, are there any more stealth tanks to kind of swoop in and do some damage? No, not actually. And what happened to that Avatar Husk? Did it get taken down, or was it accidentally crushed by the MCV? I think the MCV may have accidentally crushed it there. However, Pitbull's going to be heading down the south side there. They're possibly just going to be... I can't imagine why he's not just running them around the map just for scouting to make sure, okay, is this the only thing that my opponent has left? Well, at least in terms of buildings, because you want to be able to take out all of the buildings if it comes down to it. And of course, taking out the buildings requires that you know where the buildings are. Going to be cleaning up the watchtower just so he doesn't take any additional damage. Might actually, yeah, be worth it just to take the time to take out that AA battery, considering how much he's been focusing on Venoms. However, lots of Pitbulls means lots of dead Harvesters, but also lots of dead Venoms. And especially without that supercharged particle beam, they're really not going to do anything. They will distract the Pitbulls from that Harvester, which may be the greater good. You got to take one for the team sometime, but it won't actually work. So losing both Venoms and the Harvester goes down right there. So he did lose both of his units. And those two Juggernauts, they are twins because they're basically in sync. They're going to be, you know, either that or they're part of a dance crew, and they're just interested more in dancing than fighting. Going to be selling off his tech, getting rid of his tier 2, tier 3 is gone as well, which means it's back to attack bikes, raider buggies, and scorpion tanks. But another Harvester does go down, so Spectre doing a good job cleaning up of all of these Harvesters. Tiberium Troopers, they do slow vehicles down when they fire upon them, so they're not that great versus vehicles, but at least they slow them down, meaning that they can take additional damage. And that Engineer is absolutely booking it who knows where. I guess he's booking it off to this side of the map, and he's just going to be chilling over there, not really doing a whole lot else. Juggernauts hasn't actually built any more Juggernauts. As you saw earlier, he did go for that airfield, going for 3 Orcas as well, most likely a 4th one on the way right there, and it brings down the Bloodhounds as well, which is like 3 grand, so that means, hey, you may not have a whole lot of Tiberium left on the map. Well, actually, there's a fair amount, but one Scorpion tank, stealth tank rather, is going to be running in here, doing a massive amount of damage to those Orcas, and will he get the 4th Orca? He does, and get those stealth tanks out of there. The Awaken does lock down the majority, or at least 2 of those Pitbulls. However, the Pitbulls are going to be able to take it down, that stealth tank, and he does need to re-expand. Both of these players need to re-expand to kind of their starting fields, because that is where the money is at. I had a thought earlier and I didn't finish it. I don't know what it was. Venom's going to be showing up and then getting shot down basically immediately. Even without tungsten shells, 2 AA batteries will be able to take down those fairly fragile Venoms. And the Rage Gen didn't actually do anything. Well, it didn't actually go off. However, Pitbulls running in. Even the Pitbulls are going to be getting in on the fight. And as the Rage Gen goes off now, but basically all of the units already have their attack orders set, but not the Juggernauts. The Juggernauts are not team players, and they're going to be going for whatever target they can get. A Pitbull does go down, which the Redeemer, you know, you think you're going to have an awesome life as a Redeemer, and then you just crush a single tier 1 Pitbull, and that's basically your greatest accomplishment in life before you go down from just overwhelming attacks from Spectre. Even the Orca going to be swinging in here to do a little bit more damage, and I don't know if Unleashed can continue to power off of this, because Spectre still has his Juggernauts, which he keeps getting them taken out, and even the Awakened Squad locking stuff down, but he's reclaiming them, and he's keeping them healed up the majority of the time. We've seen time and time again in this match, he's run them back to his war factory, and he's got them healed up, and then he sends them out on another attack run. They do damage, they take out stealth tanks, take out attack bikes, whatever it may be, but then they get healed right back up, and they're out fighting again on another day. So that is definitely a pretty big advantage for Spectre during this entire game, and it looks like he's going to be going for some sort of a man spam. This lone Orca, which used to have lots of friends to hang out with, and now it's just him running around the map searching for Harvesters. What actually ever happened to that Saboteur? Not sure, but he was a lonely fellow anyways. Possibly we tried to get sent in and then ended up getting taken out anyways. But it is going to be a lot of units, well, not a whole lot, but trying to rebuild his army. Those Bloodhounds still managing to stick around the map and just going to be running his MCV. I don't actually know where that MCV is going. He's just going to be chilling over there. And the Orca does get taken out, so an attack bike squad, attack bike head-hunting, Orca killing squad is going to be out on the field. They will take some damage from the pit bulls, but they will do a 2-2 exchange. They were able to take down a pit bull and an APC, which is a decent exchange for, well, now 3 attack bikes. And they didn't actually get that extra APC, so the numbers are slightly favoring, but it doesn't even matter. Re-expanding, Unleashed doesn't even care. The numbers in that engagement were slightly favoring Spectre, however, not actually sure what the money ratio would come down to. And look at this, going to be going for a man spam once again. He set up his expansion again on the right side of the map. He re-expanded to the southern field, and then he's just going to be going for the man spam. And well, Spectre, on the other hand, he's just been constantly harvesting this field, and he's been doing a pretty solid job of it. But he hasn't actually well, he took his Marv over to this field once, and then after that it was like, play day is over, get back and go die to a whole bunch of infantry. The Orca is going to be trying to hunt stuff down, so at least he knows that this base is over here. Unleashed and Spectre going to be dragging this out into the who can harvest more Tiberium in the extreme late game sort of feel to this match. And it is going to be attack buggies and attack bikes and raider buggies, rather. Not any one of those things was correct that I said at first. However, raider buggy's going to be leading the charge, going to be tanking a couple of shots in this attack bike. We used to be cool. He used to hang out with all the other attack bikes and needs to actually move his use the, I believe, the F key to force move your infantry so that they don't go into that suppressed fire state where they get, I believe, I think they get an armor and a damage boost. But then you just move super slow and you get taken out by juggernauts, and that's no fun for anyways. However, dun-dun-dun-dun, it is going to be the cavalry rolling in here, and they are kind of the cavalry in the sense, saving the infantry squads. However, they are going to get cleaned up themselves, and they didn't do a whole lot of damage. If they were able to snipe any of these juggernauts, I would say yes, absolutely gung-ho for you. Able to take out 2 and pace of possibly even 3 orcas. Yeah, 3 orcas do go down. I think that attack may have very well been worth it. And look at that, expanding to the northern field. So who gets a gold medal for expanding? Well, it is going to be Unleashed, although Spectre does get a gold medal for keeping all of his juggernauts alive and keeping his MCV alive as well. Actually, I'm not sure how many MCVs he's built in this game. I think just the 1, although he may have lost that one as well. He might be on MCV number 3. Going to be taking this field and then just locking it down, throwing down a shredder turret. However, juggernauts will be able to clean up the majority of these forces, especially if his riflemen actually start firing on the infantry squads as the Marked of Kane or Awakened squad do go down right there. They weren't actually able to EMP anything. However, we need to see a massive swell of infantry to take down these juggernauts, and the infantry heading around the north side of the kind of volcano for Spectre is exactly what he needs. He needs to keep his infantry out in front and then suppress fire, yeah, absolutely, with the juggernauts, slowly deal the damage he needs to, and then finish it off with the rifleman squad. A good play by Spectre, and now he should be able to clean up that expansion. However, the attack bikes and the raider buggies on the north side are going to be completely cleaning up this base. 2 more power plants will go down in short order. However, rebuilding over here, Spectre already has begun. And he actually lost this entire base down here, which means his ground control is on the left side of the map. So effectively, these 2 players have switched, but Spectre, you got to do something about this attack of being force over here. He did sell off, which means he's not too concerned about just he's not too concerned about keeping that army there. About delaying that army, words are very difficult sometimes. Juggernaut's going to be heading up north. They need to make sure that they don't get caught out, like out here, away from the base defenses where they can get picked out and hammered down by these quicker units, because if the micro is good enough, you can basically escape from the Juggernaut's wrath and not take very much damage just because their fire is so wonky. I don't remember what game it was. I think someone was microing an APC, and they were doing a good job of it, keeping an APC alive versus Juggernaut fire. Not a simple task, but back up to Tier 2, back up to Tier 3. Not actually going to be any Redeemer Engineering facility on the field just yet, which means no more Redeemers quite yet. Healing up his Juggernauts once again. So, Spectre doing a good job of keeping those on basically top-notch as far as health goes. However, one more Raider buggy does go down. The bikes swing around to the south side, and if the MCV is swinging down to the south side, this could be the killing strike for Unleashed. However, no, it's not. He completely threw that opportunity away to take out a Predator tank, which Predator tank sniping is good, but he could have done massive amounts of damage to that MCV, even though, alright, now that I've calmed down slightly, he may not have even sniped the MCV anyways, because chances are the deploy would have been basically just as fast, and I don't know if he has enough to one-shot it, because you basically do need to one-shot it. However, if he heads around the north side of the map, and he will get vision from those magnetic mines, he will be able to see, and is he actually going to head in here? He needs to get in there. No, don't head around the south side. You are going to be taking some serious damage from these juggernauts if the focus firing is good enough. And a couple of attack bikes up there just chilling around, not doing anything. One bike does go down, the rest do all miss. However, this single foxhole has been garrisoned by that Awaken squad for quite a while, and the Awaken squad will run on out of there, but get shot in the face just after that. And it may be better just to... Oh, this could be an absolutely great opportunity. Oh, the supercharged particle beam that I talked about so much finally done, which means these Venoms will absolutely wreck these Juggernauts if they actually fire on them. And look at that, no anti-air basically anywhere for our friend Spectre, and not even a command post is now down, and the first slingshot isn't out because that is tier 2, which means the command post has to be done. However, pit bulls are going to be the unit of choice, and they will be good, but not if these attack bikes actually manage to stay alive, because the attack bikes plus the Venoms will be a killer combination. He needs to take out those husks, take out the remaining Juggernauts, and it's going to be a Venom spam to possibly win the day. I don't want to call it at this point, just because Spectre has had some great play in this game. And I don't want to say he's out of it before he really is, but Venoms, and he doesn't have a whole lot of ways to deal with them, not without that command post that he simply does not have the money to build. But a couple of more loads of Tiberium 1 and a little bit more load of Tiberium will be able to completely finish off that command post and allow him to build it, though he's constantly building Predator or pit bulls to try and deal with this air force. And these Venoms just take down the pit bulls and then focus down the Juggernaut just so that your bikes can swing back in if you ever rebuild them. And the Juggernaut does go down, which means Harvesters are now going to be the main target, and he's trying to get out the command post already down, which means he's going for infantry. He's not actually going for the AA right there. It does go down, which means time to swing around to the south side of the map and at least force more AA, if not be able to snipe a unit or building. But that was definitely a shot in the arm that, not a shot as in a gunshot, but rather, it's almost like steroids in the arm if you're playing Far Cry 3. But that was the shot in the arm that Unleashed possibly needed, although, yeah, Spectre reacted. He reacted quickly enough. He didn't take so much damage that it's completely, he's not going to be able to recover, because the Juggernauts went down. However, the husks still are capturable. He's already got 2 more under his control. He threw down the anti-air. He threw down the command post. Although he may not actually be able to save the command post, it does go down, which means no more advanced turbines. He already does have 1 up for those power plants. But 3 AA will be enough to hold off the Venoms. As for right now, he needs to keep those Venoms away, keep the Venoms alive. Although he has re-expanded to the center. He never expanded, so he's expanding for the first time to the center field and has regrowed significantly, which means this game is going on for almost forever. Purchasing all of those upgrades except that EMP coils for those Raider buggies, which means no EMP Raider buggies, which means it's not really that big of a deal. Just continue powering Venoms, because Venom spam, once you get a critical mass of Venoms where you can take down an AA battery without taking too many losses, you're basically unstoppable at that point. And with the extremely slow economy of this late game, that may be the one, well, not the one way, but that may be the way to end this game for Unleashed. However, Spectre definitely needs to just continue powering anti-air and needs to immediately rebuild that command post, which he has already done, and if possible, get up to those tungsten shells. Honestly, that's an upgrade that he should have bought previously. However, he cleaned up the initial Venom span, and then from his point of view, he was like, hey, I cleaned up the Venoms, that's done, we're good, I still got my Juggernauts, I'm in a solid position. He had no idea of knowing that, hey, the Juggernauts, or the Venoms, are going to be making a comeback, and now he's going to be sniping the AA battery, which is a good choice as long as he follows it up with Venoms. Losing 2 stealth tanks cannot feel good. So good focus firing by Spectre. He was able to clean up those stealth tanks, making those juggernauts pay for themselves even more and pay for the little engineers inside of them. Venom's rolling in. However, they did not attack this spot down here, which is virtually undefended. What are you doing, Unleashed? You're sending your Venoms to the exact wrong spot, and by the time he gets done, no, actually, there's no base defense actually building there. However, the man spam is going to be the choice for Unleashed, and he's even rolling in with Reckoners. They do have rocket troopers inside of them, nothing else but just rocket troopers. That one does have some Tiberium troopers. You're going to want to throw them down in the middle of those infantry to try and do as much damage and camp the barracks. So an all-out offensive from Unleashed may be able to take this game, but once again, Spectre, will he be able to focus fire well enough with his juggernauts, or is he simply going to get cleaned up by a mass ragtag assortment of units out of Unleashed? But Spectre is going to get cleaned up in this northern base. All of the base defenses are offline, but they come online with the destruction of that refinery. He needs to focus down the remaining power plant and even the MCV after that, just to keep those base defenses offline. However, the Venoms do get cleaned up. The Juggernauts are still somehow alive, which means they can do massive amounts of infantry if they stay out of range. The infantry, these Tiberium troopers could have done massive amounts of damage to those Juggernauts by keeping them slowed down and keeping them in the range of the infantry. Everything gets cleaned up. Alright, not quite everything gets cleaned up, but basically everything does get cleaned up. The power plant does go down. However, more infantry on the south side, and even that Spectre getting in on the battle. So the Spectre is getting hit with a Spectre of not his own. And the attack bike even going to be rolling in from the north side. A Juggernaut does go down, meaning there's only 2 Juggernauts left, if I'm reading that correctly. Watchtowers dotted around the map, not actually going to be enough to hold on this onslaught, I don't think. Especially once the power plants go down. The single power plant in the back will be able to power these last remaining out. Man, how is this game even still here? Those watchtowers being the saving grace of Spectre. He's still in this game because of those watchtowers, and Unleashed didn't have the muscle in that last engagement to actually break the back of Spectre, and Unleashed kill this Juggernaut husk. Even just evacuating those militant squads a little bit earlier would have been definitely worth it. However, the Juggernaut's going to be heading up north, and if the engineer can't even come out of the barracks because he does not have enough money to purchase that. And has he still? No, he's not. He is still harvesting this field down here, so good for Unleashed. However, Spectre is harvesting this field as well. And Spectre, you gotta hand it to him, fighting down to the last man. I keep thinking that Unleashed will be able to take the game simply because of the economy that Unleashed has had basically this entire game, and just expanding, while Spectre has basically been sitting on one base at a time. He sits on one Tiberium field and manages to hold it for a ridiculous amount of time against almost all odds. But not quite. This could be the cleanup crew, although I've thought that before. And then suddenly, EMP Raider buggies come out of nowhere, and they lock basically everything down. And that is going to be the fire sale. One refinery does remain. GG! Spectre has been defeated. So I cannot say that that game was anything short of epic. But that was an absolutely great game from Unleashed and Spectre, and we saw some great micro out of both of these players. And look at that, Unleashed was losing the resource game, Spectre dominating kind of early. Well, not dominating, but he was in the lead for the beginning, and then Unleashed came ahead in the end and just showed him what was up with expansion after expansion after expansion. In that game, 48 minutes, 4 seconds, quite a long game. And 60,000 credits of difference, almost exactly 60,000 credits of difference between these two players, which is a fair difference. 60,000 credits, that is a lot of units that Unleashed was able to build that Spectre wasn't able to build, not to mention also buying, expensive upgrades like supercharged particle beams and just throwing a lot of money into Venoms, where he just pumped out so many Venoms, and then he was able to do damage and throw them away, and then continually pumping those units out, not enemies, at Spectre. He was able to pump unit after Spectre, but probably wanted me to wrap this up, so this is going to be Sybert, signing out.